Hello VC, what's going on? It's me, Will, and I'm back with my final video of the year. And like the title says, this is gonna be my list of my top 10 albums of 2020. And like I've said in the past, this is always my favorite video to make, mainly because we get to go back and remember all the great music that came out in 2020. And yeah, what a year it has been. A crazy year, a strange year. Tough year for most of us, for obvious reasons, but when it comes to new music, I think it was a really good year. Lots of great new records came out in 2020. So yeah, in this video, just wanted to summarize my top 10 albums of the year, which was kind of surprising that 2020 was a great year for new music because first, when all the lockdowns started to happen in the beginning of the year and all the concerts started to get cancelled, first I thought that most bands and artists would want to delay the release of their new records to the following year. But from my perspective, that didn't happen that much as I thought. Because I thought that 2020 ended up being a really solid year when it came to new music. So yeah, in this video I'm gonna give you my top 10. But before getting started, I wanted to give you my list of honorable mentions. So these are the records that I really enjoyed in 2020, but quite didn't make it to my top 10 list. So yeah, those honorable mentions are, first of all, the new Jeff Rosenstock record. It's called No Dream, an excellent pop-punk album. In fact, the first 3 songs in the record are excellent. Almost a perfect start of a pop-punk album. I love that record. Then the new Esme Patterson record also made my list of honorable mentions. That one's called There Will Come Soft Rain. There Will Come Soft Rains. Super catchy songs in the record. I love her voice, so check that one out. Also made my list of the honorable mentions the new Screeching Weasel album. I was surprised to see a new record from Screeching Weasel this year. And that one's called Some Freaks of Atavism. Super socially charged or politically charged pop-punk music from the classic punk band. Yeah, a surprise album for me that I really enjoyed in 2020. And finally, my last honorable mention was the new Bully record. And that one is called Sugar Egg. And I was really hoping that this one would make to my list of the top 10, because their last 2 albums also made my list of my top 10 albums of the year. I think it was in 2017 and 2015, if I remember correctly. So I was hoping to keep that tradition going for Bully in 2020, but that didn't happen. This year was stacked with great new records. But anyways, Bully, a great album, made also my list of honorable mentions. So yeah, let's go ahead and check out my top 10. Alright, so let's start off with my list of my top 10 albums of 2020. And coming in at number 10 is the newest record from Ultimate Fakebook. And this one's called The Preserving Machine, and it came out on Sonic Ritual Records. And like I said in one of my last videos, this is the band that really does very well what they do, which is very fast-paced, very catchy power pop slash pop punk slash emo slash rock and roll, whatever you want to call it. They do it very well. Super catchy, great melodies in this new album. And this one in particular hits all the nostalgia buttons for me, because I went to college in Kansas, and they were the local band in Kansas back in the early 2000s. And they had that sound that was very popular back in that era, kind of like a very power pop oriented type of music. And they did it really well, and they still do now with this newest record. Of course, I picked it up when they announced that they would release a new record, their first new album in I think almost 10 years. Alright, coming in at number 9 is the newest record from The Queers. And this one's called The Queers Save the World. And like I said in one of my last videos, I'm a huge fan of this band. I've been a fan of them for many years, I think since high school. And yeah, this album came in as a surprise in 2020. I think the reason why they released a new album, which is something that they don't do very often, at least in the last few years, is because they weren't able to tour in 2020. They do tour a lot, but this year obviously they couldn't do it, so they just said we're going to release a new album instead. And that was a very happy surprise for me because yeah, I'm a huge fan of the band, and I'm a huge fan of their style, which is a kind of style that where they don't really take themselves very seriously compared to other bands. They're just a fun band. They like to have fun and just joke about almost anything, any kind of topic. And you can tell from the song titles in this record. I mean, you can read it right there, but you can tell that they're just having fun, and it's a fun record to listen to. And as far as the music, I think a lot of people kind of dismiss this kind of music where they say that it's kind of dated or not very relevant right now. I completely disagree with that. I think this style of early 90s style of pop punk, kind of like a Lookout era bands, are still very relevant now for bands that can do it really well, like the Queers in this new record. Like I said before, very fun, but also the music is very catchy. It's kind of like a mix between the Ramones and the Beach Boys. I think I've made that analogy before. And it ends up sounding great. Very well produced record. The melodies are super catchy again.
Her kiss is always on my list. Yeah, she's just not meant to deal with, 'cause the girls are not meant to deal with. Oh, she's just not meant to deal with, but I'm not going anywhere.
Alright, coming in at number 8 of my top 10 albums is the newest record from the Philadelphia band Beach Slang. And they made my list at number 8, and this is their newest record called The Deadbeat Bang of Heartbreak City. As usual, a great album title from Beach Slang. And this one came out on Bridge 9 Records early in 2020. Another hard-hitting and hard-rocking album from Beach Slang. This one kicks ass. Plenty of hard-rocking songs, fast-paced, super energetic and catchy punk rock. But this record is kind of unique for Beach Slang because they also added a little bit of the elements of the string arrangements and maybe quieter and slower melodies from his side project called Quiet Slang. There's a couple of songs like that, but overall the whole record is just very hard-rocking as usual and as expected from a band like Beach Slang. Very guitar-driven. If you're into guitar-driven rock and roll, definitely check this one out. Again, my number 8 of the year is Beach Slang with the Deadbeat Bang of Heartbreak City. Alright, coming in at number 7 is the newest record from Warriors, and this one's called You or Someone You Know, and it came out earlier this year on 6131 Records. And if you watch my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of Warriors. I've mentioned them many times in my videos. I just love their style of music, which is kind of like a very catchy indie rock mixed with a little bit of pop punk here and there. And in this new record, the singer and the leader of the band, Lauren Denizio, she really goes all out on this record when it comes to the production of the new album. Definitely more produced than their previous albums, more guitar driven, and the guitar solos are excellent in this new record, which in my opinion it mixes very well with her voice and their style of music. Like I said, very, very catchy. And also one more thing that I like about this record is that her lyrics or her whole message is very positive and optimistic about life. She has a motto in this record called "Have fun, don't die," which is something that she mentions a lot in social media. Which is, I think of it in a way that you should be having fun in life, but at the same time be cautious and make sure you don't hurt other people. And I think that's the whole theme in this new record.
Hello.
Alright, coming in at number 6 is the newest, or the debut album from Glady, and this one's called Safe Since, and it came out on Lamo Records. And this is another band that you may be familiar with if you watch my videos. This is the newest project from Augusta, from the band called Cayetana from Philadelphia. I'm a huge fan of Cayetana, and they broke up I think last year. And this is the project that she started earlier in 2020 with a few other bandmates, and the result is also excellent. Very similar to the style of Cayetana, super catchy, again indie rock, but maybe a little bit less guitars and more focused on her voice, which in my opinion ends up sounding excellent in this debut album from Glady.
Skipping soccer for an open container. Don't feel the world quite like the rest. Put your hands in your pocket, let them fidget till it's done.
Alright, coming in at number 5 is the newest record from the classic and legendary California punk rock band X, with their newest record called Alphabet Land, and it came out on Fat Possum Records. And yes, John and Exene from X still got it when it comes to songwriting. Love the songs in this new record. Super catchy, and this is the first new album in many years with the original lineup, which in my opinion helps a lot because the guitars in this one are awesome. Super catchy, a great mix between punk rock and rockabilly in my opinion. Yeah, they still got it, and this record is excellent. I think when this one came out early in the year, as soon as it came out, I ordered it and I streamed it, and I got so many of these songs stuck in my head for the longest time because they're just so catchy. And yeah, super great new record from X, Alphabet Land. Check it out in case you haven't. This is my number 5 album of 2020.
You can't answer. You hurt my sister with a doctor's hand. With boiling water and blowing sand. Let me go free. Don't tell me.
Alright, coming in at number 4, and this one may be a little bit controversial out there for some punk rock fans, but my number 4 album of the year is Green Day with Father of All Motherfuckers. And this one came out on Reprise Records. And I honestly do not get all the hate that this record has been getting from some music critics out there. I think it's a kick-ass record, super fun album, very fast-paced punk rock in this one. I think what a lot of people didn't like about this record is that they were expecting it to sound more like American Idiot or Dookie. And if you're expecting something in particular for Green Day, you're not gonna get it because this is a band that likes to experiment with new sounds. Like they did in 1997 with their album Nimrod, which was a transitional type of record where they also experimented with ska and with rockabilly and some other styles of music. They do the same thing here, where they experiment with some trap beats like in Junkies on a High, and with some sampling as well like in Oh Yeah. But the overall record is awesome. The result is really great. It has super catchy songs and very in line with the style of Green Day. In my opinion, the lead single of the album called Father of All could have been a hit, or should have been a hit, because it's super catchy, it's fast-paced, and it's a high-energy, kind of anthemic type of punk rock song. And the album is filled with those kind of songs. Very short songs, very short album, and straight to the point. Some songs like Sugar Youth, Take the Money on Crawl, and Fire Ready Aim are some of my favorites on this record. A great record, which I think it might lead into something else or in a different style of music that Green Day might surprise us in the next few years. Alright, coming in at number 3 is the newest record from the legendary alternative rock band Throwing Muses. And this one's called Sun Racket, and it came out on Fire Records. And in this new record, Throwing Muses really picked up where they left off in their from their last album, Purgatory Paradise from 2013. Similar in style, and very similar also as well as the classic throwing music records like The Real Ramona or University. Very haunting type of vocals from Christine Hirsch, which who I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's one of the greatest singers of all time, in my opinion, and also a great record to listen to at night with those kind of haunting vocals and the great deep guitars that they put out in this record. Sonically, it's just an excellent record, and I'm glad that I picked it up on vinyl as well because I really like the sound on this one that sounds great on analog. Alright, coming in at number 2 is the newest record from Waxahachie, and this one's called St. Cloud, and it came out on Merge Records. And great new album from Katie Crutchfield, also known as Waxahachie, with this new record St. Cloud, which when it was announced back in the end of 2019, I was kind of hesitant about pre-ordering it because I'm a huge fan of her from her past few records. But when they announced it, they made it sound like it was very influenced in Americana music, and which for someone like me, which is not as knowledgeable in country or Americana, it kind of threw me off a little bit. I thought it was going to be a very different type of album, and it was, but in a very, very positive way. This album is much more produced, better produced than her last few albums, which were a little bit more in the lo-fi indie rock type of realm. This one is better produced, but I would still call it an indie rock record, even though a lot of people say that it's more country or Americana. I would say that it's influenced by Americana music, but I would still say that it falls very well in the indie rock genre. I love her voice in this album. So many good songs, starting from the very beginning in Oxbow all the way till the end. Very emotional, very deep, and very personal lyrics in this record. In some of the songs, I think she also talks about her going sober in last year, I think. So yeah, very deep and personal, introspective album from Katie Crutchfield, also known as Waxahachie.
Try my uneasiness materialize. I want you all the time. Saying that.
And lastly, my number 1 album of 2020. May not be a surprise for some of you. My number 1 is Bob Mould with Blue Hearts. And this one also came out on Merge Records. What a year for Merge Records. Both my number 1 and number 2 were from Merge Records. And they released plenty of great albums in 2020. But yeah, Bob Mould with Blue Hearts, my number 1 album of the year. Yeah, what can I say about this record? This record is fast, it's loud, it's angry, it's chaotic, it's everything that would represent 2020. Even though this is a record that was written in 2019. And by the way, if this record was written in 2019, I can't imagine what Bob is going to write in 2020 for next year, hopefully. But yeah, if somebody came to me 10 years from now or 20 years from now and asked me, hey, how was it living in 2020 with the pandemic and all the crazy things going on in the world? I would say grab a copy of Bob Mould's Blue Heart, put it in the record player, listen to it. That's how it felt living in 2020. A little bit of a mess when it came to the world, and so many bad things, and people were angry, people were a little bit divided, people were upset about many things in the world, and this one reflects so well what people were feeling in 2020. Like I said, even if it was a record that was written in 2019. Lots of songs about him or Bob Mould being angry about the leadership in the USA, being upset about global warming or climate change, about the country being just so divided about the politics. And some of the songs he talks about, this is even worse than the 80s that I lived back in the 80s. And you can really tell that a lot of his lyrics mean so much to him in this record. And musically, this record just kicks ass. It's fast-paced, it's everything that you would expect from Bob Mould. Very reminiscent to his old band Husker Du. Maybe a little bit more Husker Du than Sugar, in my opinion. But it's just so gritty, so energetic, and you can feel almost his anger in a lot of these songs, which is a little bit surprising considering his last record, Sunshine Rock, that came out I think last year, which was a more positive and more optimistic view of the world. And this one is a lot more pessimistic, and very in line to what we lived in this year in 2020. Overall, a fantastic new record from Bob Mould. Hands down, my #1 record of 2020. Yeah, that's it for me, guys. That's my last video for 2020. I've been really enjoying watching your countdown videos as well. Glad that everybody out there in the VC is doing well and staying strong. Take care, Happy New Year, and see you in 2021. Bye-bye.
Something what today never looks straight in the sun's